All right. All right. Welcome back to another Footy Thoughts episode. October 24th. We are Footy Thoughts at Footy Thoughts on YouTube, TikTok, and maybe Spotify.
We're
Maybe
having
one day.
issues with Spotify.
One day.
Just hold
One
tight.
day.
By the way, Joey, I could not hear our intro music that entire time, so I just watched you dance in silence. It was really funny.
Oh, I hope it caught for you. Okay. With that, we can start talking about news, even though there is not much of it. I just want to touch on Big Ange breaking a record that I didn't know was a record. He is the first manager to, and it's, or I don't know how you even put it, just through the first 9 games, he has the most points of any manager through their first 9 games managing, which I also think is at 9 points. But broke some
That's
big
nuts.
record that I didn't know existed. Can't be happier.
You get rid of your franchise player for however many years Kane was with you guys. He leaves, and then you have a manager and squad that puts up this numbers in the most competitive league in the world. That's insane. That's insane. Like, seriously. Well done. I'm jealous. I know you know I'm jealous, but I'm jealous. I have to say it again.
Okay, so I'm just now realizing what you said by the music. So I'm going to keep this part in, but if I look back at the footage tomorrow and I'm just dancing for 25 seconds because I realized I didn't click live, it's still on preview. So hopefully it's there. Otherwise, it'd be pretty damn funny. Did you want to talk about Everton news, or do you want to move on to suspensions?
Yeah, we got a couple of things. Bill Kenwright, longtime chairman of Everton Football Club, has passed away on his anniversary of becoming chairman. He was
I did not know
chairman.
that.
Actually, I should know. I should know how many years it was. He's been chairman of Everton for a very long time. The Everton community, there's been some. The whole club has been in turmoil for quite some time now, so it's hard to think highly of that man in the modern era. However, this guy has been the longest standing Everton chairman for a long time. He bleeds blue more than any of us fans who are chatting online about his stuff. He bleeds more blue than any of us. He has his entire life since he was born, and there's nothing but respect for the guy. Rest in peace. He was a diehard Evertonian and inspired a lot of the fan base to be as attached to the club as he was. So we're not going to talk about any of the context surrounding Everton recently. But rest in peace, Bill Kenwright. We're going to be moving on to something next in the future. It's a lot of change is going to happen at Everton, obviously, with this. This is, massive, but big news. Rest in peace, Bill Kenwright.
All right. Beautifully said, Isak.
Yeah. Suspensions for Everton. Ashley Young, red card. It was a red card. It was deserved. It was a red card. It was deserved. It was a deserved second yellow. I understand why Ashley Young was a little bit pissed. I get it. It was a little bit on the fence, but it was also like, you know what, buddy, you should have, you're experienced enough to know that that's a second yellow for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what pissed us all off, and even what confused Liverpool fans and media, was Konate not getting his second yellow card when he tugged down Beto early in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
Really frustrating. You know what it almost felt like? It almost felt like the referee association said, you know what? We got something direly wrong in a Liverpool game with that Luis Diaz offsides. And if there becomes an opportunity in this game to make it up to Liverpool, we're going to do it. And that's probably way too deep into it, and that's probably not what was going through the heads of the referees. but that was stupid. That it should have been a 10-on-10 the entire second half, which radically changes the script and outcome of any game if it's 10v10 rather than
Mhm.
11v10. So it's lots of stuff with the referee association lately. Like, this shit's getting gnarly with VAR
Eh,
being not at all what we thought it was going to be, as well as the on-field refs making these kind of calls. It's like, it confuses me a lot. Do you have any thoughts regarding just referee association and just kind of what's
well,
going on recently?
it's hard to put too much energy into it because it's always changing. That's the big thing with it, is that it's so inconsistent game by game. There's not the same.
Yeah.
I guess there's the same kind of guidelines they follow, but like, you know, missed calls here, and then you see it called the other way the next game, but then something happens in that game, and then you see it called
Yeah.
the opposite way the following game. So it's tough to put too much energy into it because you, like, from what we see on the TV, granted we can see more than what the ref can see, but you know, in theory that's what VAR is for, to be there, to
Right.
be that support system. But I know you had a little bit more energy towards that no call than I did. But to move on to other suspensions, two minor ones in terms of relevance to FPL and also kind of the teams we support. Lewis Cook for Bournemouth got a straight red card. Um, Actually, that is of importance because we're talking about that game later on, as well as Connor Roberts got a red card for Burnley, and they play each other this week, which we're going to briefly touch on. And then the last red card of the week was a Kanji, came at the very end. It was actually a double yellow card. Came at the very end of the Brighton City game. He pulled on Fati. He wasn't through on goal, but it was definitely like a tactical foul, and ended up being his second yellow, which sent off. And I was wondering why he played in the first place, and I actually remember that Ruben Dias was benched. So
Yeah.
City defensive depth is never an issue about who can play over him and if that's scary or not, but Dias just going to slide right back into his spot. So
Yeah.
um, again, not a lot of news this week besides kind of outside the Premier League, and then only a few suspensions. So we can go ahead and move on to the game week 9 review. We do have Liverpool versus Everton written down. Is there anything else you want to add on, or should we kind of just move on past that since we kind of discussed it?
I mean,
I guess we can talk about Salah
um,
getting a brace. He got a
Solid
penalty.
getting a brace.
And
And just as a reminder, and I'll probably bring it up later when we talk about our bets for the week, but my lock was Everton plus 1.5 in this game. Pretty fucking brutal.
Mhm.
Pretty brutal. I mean, I think it was 9 minutes of extra time, and then Salah scores in the 5th or 6th minute of that extra time to make it 2-0.
Oh yeah.
It's just brutal like that, and it wouldn't have been as brutal. Like, I would have been like, okay, we lost 2-0 at Anfield against Liverpool, like, whatever, that's fine. But the no call on the second yellow, which could have entirely changed the whole game, having it 10v10 versus 11v10, that's what really gets me, and it's just a brutal loss in that way. There's nothing else to review. I mean, we didn't look good, but we didn't. It's not like this is going to carry over to where we have an identity crisis again or anything like that. I said it last week too. I don't even care if we lose to Liverpool. Like, we have an identity now that's very clear. We showed passion on the field. There's not much more to say about it. It's just a little bit brutal the way things are going with referee association and late goals and this gnarly extra time that all these games have because of the new rules and everything. So it's whatever. I think I feel confident that we can bounce back, and that's pretty much. We'll just forget about it. It was a fluke game. It was a weird game.
I was gonna say I think Everton looked good leading up to that. Maybe about 10 minutes up to that second yellow. I mean, DCL
Yeah,
had a big chance in the first minute, so that
in
could
the
have been them
first
getting it
30
for a big.
seconds. Yeah, that would have been
That could have
sick.
been them getting it for a big rivalry game. But I agree. I think y'all are definitely trending upwards. We can move on to the City Brighton game. This was I expected a more convincing win out of City, especially with Rodri coming back, but it could just be sort of his integration back in versus a very weird De Zerbi who lined up, who actually I didn't caught. Oh, March had a big injury, so that is some news. He had a big knee injury where a hot mic caught him
Oh yeah,
saying,
that's
"My
right.
my knee's gone." So, but what I was gonna say
Yeah.
is that De Zerbi, at least on paper, the team news had been starting Solly March at a left back, which is really I got it. I haven't looked at the heat maps yet, but that was just De Zerbi, which we've talked about, the new ball fraud, being very
The
tactically weird.
baldest of them all.
But going
Yeah.
into, I think I said last episode that I expect City to win because they had Rodri back and um, Alvarez got a goal, Holland got a goal, and Holland's goal was actually pretty creative. It wasn't just really a tap in. He kind of drove towards center back and body feint and then shot it near post. So
Yeah. Yeah, it did. This game, I was expecting a lot more goals. I think that was actually really lucky to end with three goals in this game, because I was expecting a lot more chances being created and just a lot more action. Jeremy Doku looked very, very good.
Mhm.
There are actually interesting. I looked into historical statistics for both Brighton, well, mostly just for Brighton, and how they concede goals and who they concede goals to or assists, who they concede chances to. Brighton concedes a ton of chances to teams with a pacey winger. So any really pacey winger on the opposing team that's playing Brighton, that's normally who gets the most chances, scores goals, gets assists, all of these kind of things. Jeremy Doku, man of the match. I didn't even realize he got man of the match too. He got subbed off in the
Hmm.
75, and he still got man of the match, even with Holland getting a goal. So I mean, he was super involved in this game. Matoma actually looked really good.
He puts
I
Kyle Walker on skates.
He did. He put Kyle Walker on absolute skates
And
the
then
entire
actually his
game.
shot, or no, I think he put Kyle Walker on skates, either shot or passed it, attempt saved, and then they scored the rebound.
Yeah. Alvarez looked really good. If you are hard on with your FPL Holland Alvarez forward stack, keep it. That's a great stack. I would do zero changes to that. One thing I have been seeing a lot, and we're not in the FPL section of this podcast yet, but I do want to talk about this really quickly because it's kind of right in front of me. I've seen a lot of people inquiring about Adingra on Brighton,
Mhm.
who's been starting a couple times at that right wing spot, and he
And not
probably
getting
will
subbed
start
off.
and not getting subbed off, and he probably will start even more now that Solly March is out.
Mhm.
I would be careful with this. I'm going to put a little bit of a warning sign on this. Adingra is a good player. He's a really good. He's one of he's a classic Brighton youth scouting signing that has actually turned out to look really good. His involvement in Brighton's goals and scoring have been a little bit fluky, and I would call it a little bit lucky. I could eat my own words for this, and he could be a great differential kind of random pickup, but as of now, I don't think you should be, oh, Solly March is going to be out for a while. This guy's going to replace him, play full 90 every game. I don't think that should be the mindset. Don't get too overexcited about this kid. He's literally a kid. And he's scored a couple, I think, maybe even just one good goal, and he looked good against Man United a couple weeks ago. But be careful with that. He's going to get rotated. He's not going to be this like brand new locked superstar on Brighton. Not yet, at least. He might be next season. He's a good player, but if you're going to go with a Brighton attacker here, Matoma is completely locked and still playing well, even though he hasn't been like. I mean, he's still been really good, but just I just want to put that warning out there for FPL players who are looking at kind of that differential cheap Adingra type of thing.
Yeah, he's one of the ones that I'm looking at as my fifth midfielder, and what's keeping me so attached to him is the fact that he hasn't been subbed
Yeah,
early.
It is
But
big, yeah.
you're right. Matoma's definitely. I mean, obviously,
You've
Matoma's
got
Matoma.
Ansu Fati in the question too, who can play on both
God,
sides of the
tell me
wing.
about it.
Matoma
He
can play on both sides of the wing as well.
and he's getting subbed on and still getting bonus points by playing 30, 40 minutes. But anyways, we'll move on. The final game we wanted to review was the big Chelsea-Arsenal game. Ended 2-2. Still,
Chelsea choked.
well, I, I don't think they deserve to have the lead. So,
They
yes, they
didn't.
choked, but I think they're lucky to be where they were. I mean, they had Cole Palmer, they had a penalty. Didn't see how the penalty was drawn, so I don't know if the integrity of it. Cole Palmer, balls of
It
steel,
was a penalty.
telling Sterling no, scoring the penalty. And then you have Modric with a cross shot that goes in, and they're up 2-0, like out of nowhere. And then you have Arsenal make the subs. They get the 2 late goals. I guess they were technically lucky. They got gifted one, but don't take anything away from Declan Rice's finish that he had that just curved. I forgot who was in front of him, but
Yay!
he was curved. And then the perfect camera angle where it literally hit where the netting and the post meets in the bottom left for a goal. And then Saka being super creative, throwing a perfect cross to the back for Trossard to get on and getting points. I mean, that pretty much sums up the performance from both teams, I think. I know Jesus didn't have a good game. He was subbed. It was just a real chippy, one team got lucky, didn't capitalize, didn't hold on to 3 points, and then Arsenal get lucky in the back end with a gift from Sanchez. And then, obviously, like I just said, Trossard scoring that equalizer.
Yeah.
Not a lot to, I guess what I should say is not a lot to, I still like Chelsea. We talked about that last week. I like where they're going. Arsenal showing, I guess what, you want to call it championship mentality, something to get back into that game and get a point out of it, because they haven't started the season as well as City or Tottenham have. And then now they have Champions League games where they can get distracted and start to drop points in the league. So that was good to see them avoid a loss this early in the season.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not much more to add to that.
All right. I said Cole Palmer scoring a penalty. I'm going to talk about him later, but that's good to see also a consistent lineup. That striker spot, we did see Sterling start there. I don't know if it was a false 9 or not. Don't love Sterling. Don't love him at a false 9, so wasn't too big of a fan of
And
that.
it didn't work out, too, so.
Didn't work out. Cucurella, I know they didn't keep a clean sheet either, but I saw Pochettino talking about him afterwards. I guess he's doing a fantastic job playing as their right back, even though we know him as a left wing back from his days from Brighton. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, that was our game week 9 review. We can go ahead and move on to the game week 10 preview, and we're going to start with the biggest game, also the only game we want to talk about. It was a very gross slate, but is the Manchester Derby or Derby. I'm not sure which one it is. Do you know what it is? Is it Derby or Derby?
We're in the USA. It's Derby.
Okay, sounds good. It is at United. I got a feeling about this one.
What's your feeling?
I think. Oh, I don't know if it's chalky to even say it, but I think United sneak something out of this.
I'm curious to see what the lines are on this that Vegas has, because this game has some weird. One, City has not been as productive as they have in the past because minus KDB. We've talked about that plenty on this podcast. Two, Man United's in a rut. They have been in a rut for a little while. Højlund is not scoring or even getting the XG as what has been expected from him.
Which we said would be a big problem if he didn't.
Yes, it would be a very big problem if he didn't. We don't want Chelsea strikers to turn into United strikers to turn into a Chelsea striker curse, which is apparently a very real thing that has historical data behind it. But that's a problem. I mean, that's a big problem. The Champions League game today, he had a big miss that was just like, you gotta put that away every time. If you are a striker that's expected to score goals, that's the goal you have to score every time. But but it's. I think the context that I'm talking about is Sir Bobby Charlton,
Mhm.
his death. That's a big deal at United. They had a whole ceremony for him before the game today, the Champions League game. And they're going to probably do another big ceremony for
Absolutely.
him,
Yeah.
especially in the Premier League against City. Like, that's going to be a big deal. So the context behind that is already very interesting. City not creating as much as they usually do. I don't mind your sneaky United, but I would like to go back and look at the lines for this because I'd imagine City's favored.
Yeah. Because I mean, it's just like any rivalry where throwaway records. Like it is a fresh slate. Each team is equal. Who wants it more? Kind of game.
Yeah,
I just see it being gross. Just
yeah,
not that Ten Hag is some tactical genius, but he's going to find a way to just muddy that game up and then I guess just kind of throw it up to Rashford and see if he can make something happen. And then obviously, like you said, the context behind the game, the rivalry itself, it being at
yeah,
Old Trafford as well, like that just kind of gives the lean, that kind of gives the favor to United. And I,
yeah,
and I don't. I think it's fair to say that City don't get that advantage when they're at the Etihad as well. I think there's just so much extra culture and history at Old Trafford that even with how United are playing and leading into this game, and granted they just beat FC Copenhagen, so they have a win. They're in form technically. I think this is going to be a very obviously a fun game to watch, but I do think I see United at least getting a point out of this. But I think that might be too
yeah.
chalky to say. Like, I'm like, ooh, I'm going for the underdog here. So
This is
take it as you may.
this is such an unpredictable game to me because I mean, if you look at the statistics in this Champions League game today against Copenhagen or Copenhagen, um, Copenhagen looked so much better than United. 50-50 possession, way more expected goal statistics, one more shot. Um, it's just four more corners than them. I know people don't really look into corners as such a good statistic, but that is like, how do
Fair
you
enough.
get corners? It's when you're dangerous in and around the box and you take a shot or a cross that a defender has to make a really good play to deflect out of bounds. That's how you get a corner. And when you have more corners than the other team, that is showing that you're getting in the more dangerous areas in that team. I mean, this was a fluke win from United today. And of course, we had the penalty that Onana saved in the very dying minutes of the game. But United did
Oh, I didn't
not
see
look
that.
good. Oh,
I
yeah.
did not know that.
Onana had a pen save in the 90 plus what?
Ugh.
Very dying. 90 plus 7 penalty
I hate
save.
my take now. Hate my
Well,
take.
it's tough, though,
Which makes
because,
me love it even more.
yeah, I, we don't have to go that bipolar with it. But, yeah, it's just weird. This is going to be a weird game because it's such a good game. Honestly, an under. No goals. United does not look good on the attack. They're conceding a lot of chances, but City are not creating those golden chances like they did last year with KDB. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It's just going to be a weird, unpredictable game, to be honest.
Well, we forget that slab head will be marking Holland, so that's just going to be a.
True. Own goal
Ne-
incoming
I was going to say
after he
nothing to do with
scores.
him. There you
It's
go.
going to be
Okay,
goal, own goal, red card, is what it's going to be for
6.9 FootMob
McGuire.
rating. That's the
Yes.
perfect way to end it.
Screenshot.
I'm jumping around here, Casey, but I'm just going to say this really quick that to preview not only game week 10, but moving forward, we have teams like Aston Villa, Liverpool, and Brighton who are starting to turn in terms of fixtures. A team that's not getting those like Villa, Liverpool, Brighton have jumped out of their kind of run of terror, if you call it. Like they've played their Uniteds or not United, their cities, Liverpool, Arsenal's. Like they've gotten those games out, and now they have these green fixtures coming up against relegation teams at home. Um, I say that because I move into the West Ham Everton game, where West Ham are now kind of starting their fixture turn as well. It's not as pretty and attractive as Villa, Liverpool, and Brighton, but they do start with Casey's Evertonians. So on paper, it's a good fixture at home, and the one's coming up. But we wanted to talk about this one because it's not necessarily is it a battle for table positioning because West Ham are in the top half, but you look at these two teams and you kind of compare them very similarly. You would kind of put them in the same category on the table, if that makes sense. Would you agree with
I
that?
think I think West Ham's the better team. I think West Ham's a better team. And also, did you say that this is being played at West Ham?
At West Ham. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If this were at Goodison, I think I'd be agreeing with you a little bit more. I personally think West Ham's the better team, and I think this would be an incredible display of a new identity in Everton. I know we're going to take it to them hard, and I actually do think we're going to score at least one goal. I don't think we're going to keep a clean sheet against West Ham, and I don't think we're going to win the game. I think West Ham is too good for us, to be honest.
I see. Well, the reason I brought up that comparison of like West Ham Everton good is because say Everton draw or whatever, it's like it wouldn't surprise me also if they snuck a win out. Like in my eyes, I know you're Everton, so you have
Sure.
a very finite view of like what you expect in their performances, and you know a lot more ins and outs. But like this is one of those fixtures I see like a Crystal Palace Fulham or like a Brentford Wolves or something like that. Like again, I know West Ham is on the table a good team, but I look at this, I'm like, it wouldn't surprise me if either team won that game or won that fixture.
Yeah.
So that's the
Sure.
only thing
Yeah.
I
Like
mainly
a
just say
2-1
about that.
either team type of deal. Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you.
And then I'm talking about. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I think it's gonna be a definitely a good game, and I would be very, very, very happy if something came out of this. Even a draw, I'd be okay with a draw here away to West Ham.
All right. Well, hopefully it's a 0-0 draw. Before I jump into FPL, I just want to quickly say we kind of previewed a must-win game relegation battle last week between Brentford and Burnley. Brentford ended up winning that game. Now you've got this week, you got Bournemouth versus Burnley. And as I mentioned earlier, Lewis Cook, who he's not a glorious player, he's not a star player, but he is Bournemouth's star player, key
He's
part
a
of their
rock
central
solid
midfield.
player. Yeah.
Burnley lost Connor Roberts. Again, I'm not going to call him as this creative wing back, but he is a key player for Burnley's defense as well. They match up this week, another must win. I wouldn't call this one, like I assigned Brentford as the must win because they're the PL team. They're not recently promoted. This one is like, I think Burnley don't have a win yet. Brentford have one, or Bournemouth have one. So many B-letter Premier League teams just throwing me for a loop right now. But must-win game week 10, very early season relegation battle. But this one, this fast forward to game week 35, 36, I bet we see these two teams similar in the table, and this win will be a big help for further down the line. So I just wanted to bring that game up to attention. That should be everything in regards to previewing game week 10. Like I said, very gross slate besides that Manchester Derby. All the games. Oh, there's the Friday kickoff, Tottenham against Crystal Palace. But besides that, I think there's 5 games on Saturday, 6 games, and then 5 on Sunday. So no weird timing, no 2 p.m. game like last weekend. But with that, we can move on into FPL. Do you want to start?
Sure, I can start. Just a little review of what we spotlighted last week. My spotlight last week was Douglas Luiz on Aston Villa. He is on penalties now, in which he scored 1 this past week, and he also scored a nice banger from the top of the box. So he had a brace, he had man of the match. He looked really good, a lot more involved in the attack that as people think. He is a good asset right now. He's a good enabler asset. And I think being on penalties is what's really making this, because he had returns at the end of last season that were good. He had an assist here and there. He had, a goal here and there or whatever. But now he is heavily involved in the attack, especially with taking the penalties. He's going to be getting those FPL returns on a team that I think is very much so on the up and up. And I talked about it last week. Targeting the fixture schedule, I know they're in Europa Conference, I believe it is, and they're going to be traveling a lot, and they've got a very loaded fixture schedule, but they are a very good team that's looking really good under Unai Emery. So I'm going to be riding that wave. I loved having Douglas Luiz my team last week. My preview this week is going to be Martinelli on Arsenal. So there is, and I can't point to the exact numbers. However, there is very interesting data and history last season when Martinelli,
Mm-hmm.
Gabriel Jesus, and Saka were the starting front three for Arsenal. They were the most productive front three in the league for most of the league last year, for most of the season. Scoring lots of goals. Martinelli scored a great goal in Champions League today. And Gabriel Jesus had a little bit of a worry with a hamstring pull, but from his words to Fabrizio Romano, it doesn't sound like it's going to be too serious, but we'll keep looking into that. But if all three of those are starting in the PL fixtures going forward for the next couple of weeks, they will be scoring goals. They'll be highly productive, just like they were last season. And Martinelli is less than 5% owned. I'm pretty sure he's around a 3.8,
Yeah.
3.9% owned mark. So he's a great differential. I know a lot of people still have Saka in their team, or they have Odegaard or whatnot, the penalty takers, but a double stack. Remember how meta the Arsenal double stack midfield was
Yeah.
last year, or Jesus and one midfielder? Let's get that meta rolling again, because I think it's about time that could be a very much so. Well, I guess it was a meta just because Martinelli was way too cheap,
Oh yeah.
but he's not this year, so it's going to be an expensive stack
Meta.
to
Yeah.
have, but I think it's also worth it potentially. That's going to be my spotlight. Team that I'm going to spotlight, Aston Villa. I'm going to kind of continue on that because they've got great fixtures coming up. They're looking really good. They just had a great win, 4-1 against West Ham. I thought it was going to be way closer of a game. That was Joey's lock last week. He won his lock.
We
Aston Villa
back.
money line. He's back. And they looked really, really good. Ollie Watkins is now scoring goals because I traded him out of my FPL team after he wasn't on penalties and not scoring goals. And then I traded him out and now he's scoring goals. So you're welcome, everybody who brought him in.
Mm-hmm.
Douglas Luiz looks good. The whole team looks really, really, really good. Unai Emery has something special going. So they're going to be my highlight for the next couple weeks with upcoming fixtures. You have to have at least one Aston Villa player in your team. Watkins, Diaby has some interesting injury stuff going on right now. Watkins or Douglas Luiz, those are great FPL assets to have right now.
To add on to yours, Douglas Luiz now has a return in all four home Premier League fixtures for Villa as well. He's the second guy, or like the second guy to get into the box, so he's always there for that top of the box, first time shot. Diaby, I actually thought got unlucky. There were two chances in the first half that I even texted about in our group text saying like, "Don't go and watch these highlights because he should have had at least one assist." So I don't think you can go wrong with him. But obviously, Douglas Luiz and Watkins are more appealing. So I always talk about my player. My player is a little bit more gross, a little bit more like that's disgusting.
Random.
Gonna mispronounce his name, Vladimir Kufal for West
Yeah,
Ham,
he did.
right back, 2.9% owned. I did not know this. He had before this last game against Villa that they lost, four straight games with an assist, and I think he even has like a 12-point haul somewhere in there, like clean sheet, bonus, assist. He had a really good return. They have Everton, Brentford, Nottingham Forest, Burnley, Crystal Palace in their next 5 games, 3 of those being home games. So I'm wildcarding. I'm looking for differentials, 2.9% own. He's already generating bonus. He's already generating attacking output. They don't have any clean sheets. I think that will be a bonus. I'm not going to rely on that. So I like Vlad, big old Vlad, as my player spotlight. And then I
Like
mentioned
that.
this one earlier. My team spotlight is going to be Brighton. To be specific, they have Fulham, Everton, Sheffield, Forest, Brentford, and 5 of their next 6. So, like I said, they're coming out of their gauntlet of playing top 6 teams. Now they're kind of coming out of the light back into the reality of playing teams that they can beat. And I think we see a lot more consistent returns from players like Matoma, Estupinan's back, maybe some more clean sheets. I wouldn't say consistent with Adingra because Casey mentioned him. Welbeck came off injured, so maybe players like Ferguson, but keep it simple. Matoma, maybe Estupinan when he's fully back. If you kept him, great. Just keep him. He should be coming back early November. And I think they find some form as well. I wouldn't be surprised 2-3 weeks from now they're a couple positions higher up on the table as well.
I like it.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe it's something else. I don't remember, but if I remember, I'll talk about it. That was FPL talk. Oh no, that's what it was. I wanted to touch on my wild card. Casey and I wanted to go into a little bit more depth about the wild card. It's some people have already played it. If not, or if you have, maybe you can just start to focus on these teams that we keep talking about: the Villas, the Brightons, Liverpool, Arsenals, because they have those fixtures coming up. But I just wanted to quickly say, because since I am wildcarding and I'm looking for those differentials, just try and keep your team still focused on the meta. Like I'm bringing in Son to pair up with Madison. I'm finally giving in. I'm bringing in Salah because I'm tired of losing rank.
Oh
The
God,
wild
I
card
have
is
to as
there
well, don't
to
I?
kind of the wild card is there to put bandages on your team, but you should still view it as a chance to get creative. And I'm doing that
True.
with Kufal. I'm doing that with Lyle Foster from Burnley. And I'm not even going to go into depth about him because he's my third forward. He's there for the next 5 weeks if I need to bench somebody because like Arsenal plays Newcastle away, or if there's another gross game, I can just plug him in. And I've got Cole Palmer too. All of these guys below 5%, but could totally start at any time in the next 5 weeks for me. So keep your team in the meta. Don't go too crazy, but still have your fun here and there. Because remember, keep FPL fun until you keep getting red
Good
arrows like
luck
me
with
and you have
that
to
too.
pivot. Exactly. Okay. Um, Sorry, would you like to add anything? I kind of just took over there.
No, I don't think so. As it's being wildcard season, it's all about keeping a balance of meta and also having some risky plays in there. But don't have your entire team as risky plays. Don't fade Holland. Don't fade Salah, which is what
Yeah,
me and
don't
Joey
fade
have.
both. Don't fade
Yeah,
both.
don't
That's what
fade
we're saying.
both. It's a hard lesson that we've had to learn. And if you need to bring one or the other back into your team or something like that, we have given some great cheap differential options. So you could have both Cole Palmer, who's 4.9, I think, and then you can have Douglas Luiz as well, who's 5.3, 5.4. Those are both great enablers who will get you returns,
Mhm.
both on penalties for high scoring teams. Those are the kind of enablers that you need to get creative with. Your defenders, you can also get creative with as well. I think unfortunately, Trippier, who's pretty expensive, is a must right now, in my opinion. But if you're struggling to afford the more template players in your team, you've got to find those creative outlets in the midfield, especially. It's definitely the midfield is the key part because there's a lot of cheap options there, like Cole Palmer and like Douglas Luiz that you can bring into your team to enable yourself to get Salah or get Holland or get your more Son even. Son's a must-have right now. If you need to bring one of those players in, you've got plenty of enablers to switch to. Don't be afraid of taking hits right now. It's wild card season. This is the point in time where people like really change up their teams and get going and being 12th place in your league, you can make decisions that'll bring you up to 6th or 5th or
Yeah,
those kind of things. So yeah.
ranks are still pretty fluid right now, so I agree. I'm wild carding, so I think I'm not taking any hits, but don't be afraid for that -4 if it means like hopping on a Salah or hopping on a Sun, because it's still fine to where it will pay off long term. But that will be the end of FPL talk. We'll hop into locks and then we'll wrap this up. Casey spoiled my fun. I did finally hop off the losing train. I cashed Aston Villa money line easily.
Very nice.
Easily. I'm still
Very
below
nice.
500, 3-4-1. We're going to go 2-0 this week. I've already locked in this bet, and I locked this bet in before even looking at the data, but I love, and have taken Liverpool -1.5 versus Nottingham Forest. I took it right when I saw it, and then I thought to myself, ooh, I should really find some data for the podcast to talk about. Liverpool have 6 home games, 6 competitive home games so far this season, and they have won every single one by 2+ goals.
Yep. I like
You're
it.
welcome.
It's nice
That's
and
my lock.
simple. And the best part about this is if Matt Turner goes off, you won't be mad.
Emotional hedge. It's that simple.
I hate the slate this week, by the way, for betting. If you are a very casual bettor that just kind of tails things here and there, don't be betting this weekend. This weekend has a really gross slate. Like, seriously, it really does. But the odds are not out for this yet, so I don't know what it's going to be, and I'm going to be kind of mad if the odds are disgusting for it. But a Holland goal in the Derby. That's going to be my lock of the week. And I have a backup lock if it's not.
Oh, what is it? Tell us.
Well, hold on. Um,
Oh,
the Holland goal, if it's -120 or less, I'm going to be taking that as my lock. If it's not, my backup bet is 11 corners in Bournemouth versus Burnley, which is +110. It's kind of an alt line because 10 corners is -140 or something like that. So we've got 2 bets here: lock Holland goal and also 11 corners in Bournemouth Burnley. Yeah, we're getting to corners here deep in the season, huh?
spoiler alert. Casey will take both those bets regardless come the
Probably.
weekend. And I finally let him break free and talk about his corners bet because I knew he wanted to so badly. So what happens if Holland's -125?
I still take that.
Okay, there you go.
Anything if it's minus like 145 or 150, I'm gonna be like,
Just
fuck
put another
you,
unit
and I'm
on
not
it.
gonna
Just
take
put
it.
another unit on it.
No.
Okay. All right. That's game week 10, boys. Thank you for listening. Again, we're Footy Thoughts at Footy Thoughts on YouTube, TikTok, maybe Spotify. Still don't know.
Soon, hopefully.
Soon. Who knows? All right. Thanks for listening. Peace. All right.